Alright, if you are a setter and you're struggling to get the calls you set to show up, then this video is for you. My name is Sean, and my show up rate when I was a setter was over 90%. And you're probably wondering, how the fuck did I get a 90% show up rate? Okay, well, what you need to realize is, when I first started setting, my show up rate was sub 50%. I literally started out in my very first month, I had like a 35% show up rate. And the offer I was on actually had a deduction for every single lead that I booked that didn't show up to the closing call. So I had to learn how to vet leads extremely diligently. Otherwise, I would basically make no money. So I have basically tried and tested every possible thing as a setter, and I found what works the absolute best for me. Okay, the three things I'm going to cover. If you actually implement them, you are going to double your show up rate. Okay, it's that simple. And the three things we're going to cover are: number one, intuition. Okay, number two, addressing unanswered questions, and very lastly, a very underrated hack that I know for a fact that you guys are definitely not implementing. All right, before we get started though, I just want to give you guys some proof in terms of like I was in your shoes once and I did get out of them, and this is where I used to be. So if you look at my commission sheet for October, I had a 35% show up rate. That was my first month, 35%. And it stayed like that until December, where basically I picked things up. And I'll show you guys that December and onwards commission sheet later, but this is where I was, and it's a process. You got to try new things, stick with them, and then see what works, and then keep on doing that, And trust me, it took me about 2 or 3 months to get it right. If you listen to what I tell you to do, it will be a lot faster for you. Okay, but on now to the next commission sheet. All right, so this is December and onwards. This is kind of a look at where I started and then where I improved to. So in December, I jumped to an 83% show up rate, right? So I went from 35 to 83 after those like 1 or 2 months. And after that, December and onwards, all the way up until about, I want to say about March, I was setting at a 92% show up rate. So I still upped it a little bit more from 83 to 92. But the entire point I want to make from this is just, I started where you guys were. I was not good at this from the beginning. I got here by trying new shit, working really fucking hard, and improving. That's it. And if you guys do the same thing, and I'm going to give you all the answers, but if you do the same thing I did, you just put that effort in, you can get here as well. Anybody can fucking do it, okay? So, moving on to the next thing. So, how did I do this? Again, 3 main things that we're going to cover, okay? Number 1, intuition. Number 2, addressing unanswered questions. And number 3, a very underrated hack, okay? So, first things first, intuition. If you are a setter and you think you're qualifying everything properly, meaning you're having those good conversations, your leads have budget, everything just seems right, but they don't show up for the call, intuition's what you lack, okay? And we kind of describe intuition as that gut feeling for things that you really only develop with experience. For example, right, have you ever talked to a lead and everything seems perfect, right, but just a little bit too perfect, right? And you book them in for the call, and after there's like this weird feeling that lingers, okay? That's your intuition talking to you, all right? And when that happens, you need to trust it, because 9 times out of 10, when you get that gut feeling that the lead is a little bit weird, they usually are a little bit weird, okay? But when this happens, what do? Do you not book them? Do you try to converse a little bit more maybe? The answer is basically going to be in the next 2 things that we're covering. So very first of all, addressing the unanswered questions, right? What this means is when you have a lead that is being a little bit annoying, right? Maybe you just feel like they're agreeing with everything you're saying, or their personality completely just changes when they get to the budget section, right? You need to call that shit out. For example, if I'm talking with a lead and I'm asking them a bunch of questions, right? And they're just giving me a bunch of half-assed, like, yeah, right? Yes, that basically sound like they're not paying attention. I will literally ask them if they're just agreeing with everything I'm saying. For example, right? Let's just say I'm conversing with the lead. He's like, I'm asking him a bunch of questions. He's like, yeah. It's just very disinterested sounding, yeah, right? I will literally call him out. I'll be like, bro, are you honestly just agreeing with everything I'm saying? And this is what a lot of you guys need to do in order to develop as a closer. Because one of the skills involved with becoming a closer is having the ability to ask these tough, uncomfortable questions, okay? And this is a perfect example. So when you guys have an instance like this where you can tell something's off with somebody, call them out. Again, the worst thing that can happen is they don't show up, right? But if you don't address these things, like these little uncalled for, like subtle things that you're noticing, they're definitely not going to show up, okay? They're not going to show up anyway. So you really have nothing to lose. The next thing I'm going to cover is a very underrated technique. And a lot of you guys might already know to do this, but you're too pussy to do it because you probably feel like you're losing out, okay? And it's literally just scheduling a follow-up call, okay? For example, if I get that gut feeling, right, that that a lead is just a little bit off, I will literally say, hey, let's do this. I'm going to send you a video to watch and let's have a call on Thursday next week, right? On that call, I'm going to ask you a few questions and I'll ask you a few questions about the video. And yeah, this is time work for you, right? And guess what? If they show up for that next call with you, the probability that they show up to the closing call is significantly higher. Okay, and guess what? If they don't show up to that call, they wouldn't have shown up to the closing call. So you lose nothing, okay? So in summary, the most important thing you develop as a setter is intuition. And when you start building that intuition, you get those gut feelings for weird leads, you have to act upon that. And the two things you can do are you can call people out on the weird shit they do, and if you need, take extreme measure by just booking in a follow-up call. And if you do this, I fucking promise you, your show up rate is gonna go up, okay? A lot. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and if you want to work together, you can book a free call with the link below.